It's a tough time in some of our major cities in America, New York City and Chicago to be exact. Why? They have an influx of migrants and they are sanctuary cities, especially New York City because it's a city that has a huge population. It's very condensed. Now stop the show. If you live in a condensed city and you have migrants coming into the city that might be homeless or will put a strain on resources, well, what do you want to do as a mayor? You would probably want this to happen.
You spoke earlier about the idea of having these migrants work in New York and giving them an opportunity to work. Have you ever thought of just doing it on your own at this point?
We would love to. Trust me, I've turned over every legal stone to see how we could go about doing it. But if we do it, we could expose ourselves to violating federal laws as well as the city being sanctioned. And would you believe I cannot even allow migrants to volunteer and give them a stipend? If I wanted them just to clean up in the areas where they are staying, that's not allowed to do. When you think about this, this strikes at the heart of who we are as a country. All of our immigrants that have come to this city, all of us in this country, we had the authorization to work and earn our rights to be here. And that's all the migrants and asylum seekers are asking for.
That's Mayor Eric Adams, and he wants these migrants to be able to work. Now, if I was the mayor, I wouldn't want them to be there at all because of the strains on the economy in the city. But where he's at right now, where you can't make a decision on if they can stay or not, and maybe he made it a sanctuary city and maybe he's okay with a lot of it. Well, he's a Democrat, right? You can't really have them working, even though you want them to work, because if they can work, then they're not on the side of the street selling illegal vendorship. They're not prostituting, some of them, committing crimes. A lot of those things are not going to happen. But stop the show. Some of them are working, but illegally. Rewind! An article came out the other day that I thought you guys would be very interested in. But before we get to that article, let's kind of go back to the whole Tyson Foods debacle in Iowa. Now remember, Tyson Foods did something that was a really big no-no in American society. They laid off over 1,000 American workers, and then Tyson Foods did this.
All right, Mitra and Tyson laying off 1,200 workers after closing its pork factory in Perry, Iowa, only later to announce 52,000 jobs for migrants.
The company's excuse, migrants are getting the jobs that Americans don't want. A human resources executive for the company telling Bloomberg the migrants have been, quote, very loyal. They've been uprooted, and what they want is stability. What they want is a sense of belonging.
Let's bring in Fox and Friends Weekend co-host Pete Hegseth. Pete, good to see you.
Yes.
But again, lower wages, taking American jobs. This was the reason why Democrats were opposed to illegal immigration 10, 15, 25 years ago. But here it plays out. This costs Americans a livelihood.
That's true. It was also the reason why the Chamber of Commerce crowd of the Republican Party was so resistant to Donald Trump back in 2015, 2016, dependent on importing cheap labor. He said, we're going to build that wall. We're going to stop this. I'm going to put Americans first. Wages will rise as a result. And now you've got an inversion of that with the Democrat Party saying, come on in. And then we've heard glimpses of it, right? When Nancy Pelosi said, who else is going to pick our crops, right? I mean, that's their mindset. And the businesses are happy to do it when there's no e-verifier, there's no consequences. And so cheaper labor for this business to produce a product. And it's not an easy job. People that do those jobs, they're dirty, they're tough, but Americans should have the first shot, and they should have a good shot at a good wage.
Tyson Foods hired over 50,000 migrants. And the backlash for this decision was so strong, many people, investors, took their money out of Tyson Foods as an investment. It was that big of a deal. But where am I going with this? Fast forward! Now again, we're in the same industry, which is food. Not processing, but food. But delivery apps. Uber Eats, apps like that. And these apps are okay, Because why? Well, for a migrant, it's unskilled work, and you can just deliver food to people, and hey, you can get paid. But there's an issue. Play that clip.
All right, Republican senators are demanding answers from Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub following reports that illegal immigrants are getting paid as delivery workers on the apps, allegedly by piggybacking on the accounts of current employees.
But each company is pushing back on the accusations. Grubhub saying, quote, account sharing is completely unacceptable on Grubhub and will result in immediate termination. Uber adds, all couriers who deliver with Uber are required to hold a valid right to work in the U.S., pass a criminal background check, and be over the age of 18. DoorDash said there is no place on the DoorDash platform for those who can't or won't verify their identity.
Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn is one of the lawmakers leading the charge on this inquiry, and she joins us now. Senator, good morning to you. So tell us about this effort and also your response to those delivery services.
Yes, indeed. One of the things that has concerned us is that you have those that have illegally entered the country who are beginning to piggyback on these accounts. And of course, this came to light when you had the illegal alien who had been granted parole status, who was delivering food in New York, commits a crime, leaves, goes to Athens, Georgia again, delivering food, and he then kills Laken Riley. So we know that this is happening. And one of the things, Carly, that we've paid so much attention to is how these cartels are beginning to find ways for people they're illegally bringing in the country to work, because these people have to pay back the cartel for their fee for getting into the country.
Senator, do you feel like, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, do you feel like they want to prevent illegals from working, or are they complicit in this because it allows them to operate more widely?
Yeah, Pete, one of the things we're trying to find out is exactly what is happening and what is their participation, and have them exercise that authority that they have, that contract with anyone who is working for them. Now, if they are turning a blind eye to this, and they are allowing people who have not been vetted, who are not of proper age, to be out there working on someone else's app, then they've got to clean this up.
So guys, as you heard, migrants are piggybacking off of people who are American citizens and then doing their work delivering food from some of these apps that have been aforementioned. Now, Uber Eats and other companies that are involved in this have specifically said, listen, we are not hiring migrants. They need to be U.S. citizens and have proper paperwork in order for them to do this job. Now, just like the politician said, there is a particular gang that specializes in human trafficking that are bringing these migrants over here. And this is what this gang is known for.
This morning, growing fears of Venezuelan gang members coming across our southern border as officials confirm this migrant suspect accused of squatting inside of a Bronx home with guns and drugs is tied to the dangerous Tren de Aragua gang. So what do we know about their threat? Joseph Humeyer is executive director at the Center for Secure Free Society, and he joins us now. Joseph, tell us about Tren de Aragua. What should our viewers know about this gang and just how it's metastasized in Latin America?
Yes. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on, Rachel. Good morning to you and your audience. Three quick things about the Tren de Aragua. The first, and I've said this many times, but it merits saying it again, it is the fastest growing transnational criminal organization in the world. Only 7 years ago, they had presence in 2 countries in South America. And within 7 years, they now have a presence in 10 countries throughout the entire Western Hemisphere. And that also includes right here inside multiple cities in the United States. And so I've never seen a transnational criminal organization expand that fast. Not even the Mexican cartels expanded that fast in that short amount of time. The second point is that the specialization of the Tren de Aragua from Venezuela is not drug trafficking, it's not money laundering, it's human smuggling and human trafficking. That's what they're experts at. All the countries that they proliferate in inside the Americas, they tap into human trafficking networks and they push migrants across borders. That's what they do. And so that's obviously a particular additional concern. And then the third point is probably the most concerning is we're perhaps dealing with the first state-sponsored transnational criminal organization, because when you go back to the history of how this was formed inside Venezuela, you have to actually go back to at least 2007 when Venezuela did a reform in its legal system and the prison system where they handed the prison to the prisoners. It's called the Pranato system, where they actually put prisoners, gang leaders in charge of the prisons inside of Venezuela. Then to 2011, they created a ministry of prisons where they consolidated this inside a prison in a state called Aragua. That's why it's called the Train from Aragua. It's a state inside Venezuela. And then the third is 2020, when they released these prisoners, 1,373 prisoners in particular from that prison under, get this, a program called A Path for Liberty. And so coincidentally, since 2020, we've seen mass migration start to pivot north from Venezuela into the United States for two reasons. Because the Maduro regime built an air bridge through its state airline into Mexico and a land bridge through the Tren de Aragua through the Darien Gap. So that's what to me, the biggest concern of this is we perhaps are dealing with a state-sponsored criminal organization.
Okay, so these guys are over here in America. They have to pay their money back to these individuals for bringing them to America. So they have to work at whatever cost. So the reality is this: if you're a Democratic voter anywhere in America, I just have a question. Do you see what's happening right now? She made a good point, the governor lady, I believe, or the senator lady. She said, what happens if you have a migrant that's not a citizen, that understands the sanctuary status and understand that you can commit a crime, not go to jail for it, and they're delivering food to a single mother's house, an older person's house? What can they do? They can break in, rob. Not saying all of them can do that, but they can do that because, well, they feel like they're not going to go to jail anyway because, hey, if I was able to sell drugs or guns and row houses in New York City and be let out, well, what else can I do? And I can empower other migrants to take the same position because, hey, listen, we're in the new land. We got to make it. We're suffering. So we don't really care about these individuals as people. And that's exactly what could happen. Now, I'm not trying to tell you what you need to do with your vote. It is completely okay with you. I just have a question. Would you like an undocumented migrant worker bringing you food at 9:30 at night or bringing it to your daughter's house who's in college? Would you like that as an individual? How would you feel about that? A person that you don't know, piggybacking off of somebody else, and then doing the work and coming into your home or coming into your yard. You don't know what this person's criminal background is. Guess what? A lot of United States citizens who are letting these migrants into the borders don't know what their criminal background is. So what about you? This is a very dangerous thing and it can get really bad. But I hope that these food companies are not just, having a blind eye toward this, because if a Uber Eats guy goes out there and hurts somebody, it doesn't matter if that person piggybacked off it or not. It happened under your watch. This is why these guys are getting concerned. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of Fair Use. I'm out.